that it detaches you from that experience to a point where you can talk about it without being triggered.
We all have a way of thinking that's a program of the way we think. It's how we survive. So if we're breaking down that programming and trying to create a new one, a crisis could put you back.
And the big question, is ketamine right for you? It's estimated that 21% of US adults will experience major depressive disorder. 1/3 of patients with major depressive disorder are estimated to have treatment-resistant depression, where the condition does not respond adequately to typical treatments. Ketamine is increasingly being used to treat TRD, or commonly known as treatment-resistant depression. But why is it being used? In this episode, we're diving into the world of ketamine.
I haven't had not one client that has had a negative outcome. Every single person that I have treated with the mental health part is doing amazing.
What even is ketamine? We'll chat about ketamine-assisted psychotherapy, the whole infusion therapy deal, and how often folks get these ketamine infusions. Now, here's the interesting bit. Using ketamine to treat depression. Why does it work so well? Why is everybody talking about it?
Ketamine and where it fits with the other psychedelics.
Rhino Smasher, Wonk, or Ketamine.
What are the side effects, and is this stuff really safe for everyone? We'll touch on its connection to substance abuse and figure out who's eligible for this kind of therapy.
It's not something that is promoted to use in mental health until recently.
I'm super excited about today's chat because we got two amazing guests in the house. First off, we got Dr. Uribe, a rock star in the mental health scene for over 12 years. And then we got Ms. Bianchi, who's been in the mental health field for over 5 years. She's right there next to Dr. Uribe, exploring the world of ketamine-assisted psychotherapy. How come you both decided to pick this specialization in ketamine? What brought you into this whole?
Psychedelics have been around for years. You know, prior to the 80s, they had studies on psychedelics and they showed promising results in mental health.
In the 60s, there was huge studies on it.
That the mentally ill is not inhabited by the devil.
But then the war on drugs happened, where now they were completely monitoring and reducing and making it illegal to take these drugs. So we didn't have access to this kind of information. Jumping into like why we became so interested in it.
My husband.
Okay.
My husband suffers from bipolar, mild form. So when I say mild form, medication is not always necessary, just depending on how he was managing his care. It got to the point post-COVID that it was really bad. Anxiety, depression went to the roof. And he wasn't special to it either. So looking for various treatments, he kept hearing, and he's a big podcast person, he's always listening to YouTube and all that, and he kept hearing people talking about psychedelics. But then they would mention some of the ketamine stuff.
You could do ketamine therapies, which are really weird. Like a lot of people are doing them for depression.
So I started Googling to find out what's around here, what psychedelics are being used right now, honestly out of desperation. And we landed on the clinic in South Miami. They told us about ketamine, how it works, and it did amazing for him.
Great.
What didn't happen was the mental health part. It was still, I guess, early on in what ketamine is and how to use it, that they weren't doing the mental health part in that clinic.
They were
really wanted to
reintroducing it to
Okay.
society because it became, ketamine is FDA approved,
Correct.
but not for mental health. Like it's not something that is promoted to use in mental health until recently. Yeah. It's always been used for chronic pain or as an anesthetic because that's what it is, right? The whole concept of using therapy with these psychedelics, with these dissociatives, to really penetrate like trauma and to really get into it and talk about these things freely without being triggered, without going into an episode, has been substantial. It's incredible.
Now they're realizing this. So
Now
now
they
it's
are.
being more accepted.
Right.
And then they're doing it with LSD, MDMA.
So when I saw the lack of integration with mental health, especially for my husband in a personal level, I saw this is a huge limitation. So I recognized that limitation. I said, okay, this is something here. And because I saw his transformation, I said, there's no antidepressant that can do this. So that's where I dived in. I started doing more research. I started, getting more studies. I ended up meeting an anesthesiologist who wanted to do ketamine as well. So as I met with him, started talking, he wanted to do the ketamine. I said, let's do it. I could do the mental health part, you do the infusions. And that's where we started.
And here
I
we are.
haven't had not one client that has had a negative outcome.
Okay.
Every single person that I have treated with the mental health part is doing amazing.
What is ketamine-assisted psychotherapy? In a CAP session, you take a carefully prescribed amount of ketamine and it induces a dreamy of trance-like state. For example, you can be in a quiet room, maybe with soft music playing or an eye mask on to create a relaxed atmosphere. Then for about 45 minutes, you chat with the therapist about your thoughts and feelings while under the influence of ketamine. After the session, you and the therapist talk about what came up, and people are reporting breakthroughs faster than with traditional talking therapy. But overall, ketamine-assisted psychotherapy is showing promise as a unique approach for those who haven't had success with other forms of therapy.
It detaches you from that experience to a point where you can talk about it without being triggered, without falling into an episode. Allows for serotonin to actually bypass, which is something that happens in depression. Your nerves, they kind of stop functioning like they should. Yeah. This medicine allows for those synapses to connect again, to start passing serotonin, to give that euphoric feeling, to give that feeling of, I can do this, I can talk about this, I can retake my life and not be taken over what depression or PTSD does, or anxiety that doesn't allow you to do on your day-to-day. The way it works is that there are 6 sessions for 6 weeks. This is how we work. I know that most clinics have their own, sometimes they do 2 to 3 a week. Yeah. But the way that we function is in a 6-week times, you go once a week. You have your session, you go through your trip, which is an intravenous way.
Those are the infusion treatments?
So yes, the infusion.
The infusion treatments, yeah. So you go through your treatment, you go through your trip. Once you are done, it takes about 45 minutes. We allow you to go home, rest, process what happened, and the following day you meet with our doctor, Dr. Uribe, and she will process with you.
What makes it so different is they don't only see visuals, but what they do is feel mostly. It's big on feeling and emotion. Most people go in thinking they're gonna see something. Most people don't. Most people may see darkness or just may see colors. But the feelings associated with the experience is what I'm tapping into.
I think, and as a therapist, when you see a client progress, that's when you're like, okay, this is why I do it.
Well, when you see that weight being lifted off their shoulders, it's almost like this immediate response.
Yeah.
And it reminds you why you do what you do.
It's definitely rewarding. Do you have any positive cases or cases you've resolved?
A music teacher, music professor, right? You think very creative, productive, always active in music and writing and all that. So this gentleman comes to us with really resistant treatment depression. He's been in this depressive state for years. But this individual hadn't written music, hadn't listened to music in years. This is a music professor, okay? Hasn't listened to music in years, didn't produce anything, was just basically going with almost like automatic movements and like, I have to, whatever. When he came to us, even his voice was just a low affect, almost monotone, just no expression, nothing. Very stunted and blunted, so to speak. By the second session, this man started talking, just out of nowhere. And he started realizing, I've been depressed for X amount of years. I've been depressed because I can't take care of my mom. I've been depressed because, look, I'm not even listening to music. Like, it just started, the gates opened on him, where he just started understanding why he was so sad. And he goes to me, I'll never forget this. Lily, I've just realized that I have not been an active participant in my life.
In my own life, yeah.
In my own life. When he said that to me, I said, wow.
Aha moment.
Oh my God.
Aha moment.
Yes. And I always say to my clients, you're gonna have these aha moments very often, sometimes when you don't realize it.
Right.
So part of my expectation with these clients is that you're journaling in between sessions.
Okay, very important.
Because part of the journaling does allow you to process and make sense of what you're thinking. What people don't realize is our thoughts race. We have over 7,000 thoughts a day. Well, what you're teaching yourself to do is be selective with what thought you want to engage with. We can't engage with every single thought. So him understanding that as well, journaling slows down those thoughts and forces you to capture the one that's the loudest for you, basically.
As our wonderful friend Vessel Kolk said, our body is connected to our thoughts.
Yes.
We have these reactions to how we feel, right? That's the whole concept of CBT. You have your thoughts of emotions, thoughts and behaviors, they all intertwine at some point. So,
or like the movie Inside Out. I love using that.
Yes.
yeah.
What did she say? What? Oh, sorry, sir. No one was listening.
He's making that stupid face again.
I could strangle him right now.
You are learning to become one with yourself again.
Right.
which falls short when you're stuck in your brain when it comes to anxiety and depression and anything that keeps you where you're at. I had a teacher once explain that the way trauma works is that it's like a file getting stuck in like a file cabinet.
Yeah.
And what you're doing essentially, which EMDR helps and ketamine helps and all these modalities help, is you pull out this file, you like straighten it out.
Been jamming it. Instead
And
of just going like, oh,
Right.
Which is what we do most of our
We all
lives, right?
do.
We just want to shove that thing back in there and leave it there. I don't want to touch it.
How safe is ketamine? Because, you know, some people might have concern out of all the stigma, illegality of.
Being that ketamine has been used for the, you know, as an anesthetic, it's very safe. And for it to be approved for mental health, it needs to be out of the schedule, I believe, completely.
Yeah.
And that's where they're going to work towards. So right now, ketamine is approved off-label use, Florida. I don't know about any other state. So the clinics are safe. There are professionals, medical professionals. You have the doctor who's an anesthesiologist by trade, or you'll have a nurse or a nurse practitioner even, actually putting the infusion on you, managing your blood pressure at the same time and your pulse. Because it could affect your blood pressure. Some people do experience an increase in it. I've noticed that if they have a blood pressure history, that's going to be the impact. But as far as after the fact, you may have a little disorientation, a little bit of dizziness, maybe a little bit of fatigue, but this is seconds to minutes and you're done.
Okay.
Some people do get tired after. Some people get energy after. My husband was the one that after 2-3 hours, he would go to the gym. When I did it, I did not go to the gym. I needed to rest. So it just goes to show you the type of person, you know, it's going to be different for everybody.
It's highlighted that only a small percentage of participants reported side effects that impaired functioning, and most side effects remitted within 2 hours after the infusion. Studies show that 71% of participants had a positive response to ketamine treatment for depression, with a much better chance of positive response associated with receiving more treatments. Everyone can have a different side effects. What would be like the worst case scenario and like the best case scenario?
I think the worst case scenario is that the episode or the trip itself gives you a visceral reaction and it scares you.
Right.
But I haven't even seen that.
In your experience?
In my experience. And the beauty about intravenous, they turn off the pump, you're back.
Yeah.
It's
You get
that
flushed
fast.
out.
It's that fast.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's not like taking a pill and you're at the mercy of that pill.
Yeah.
No. Infusion.
Waiting for it.
Right, and you have to wait for it to pass. Not with the IV. You can just turn it off and you're back that fast.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that's what makes it a lot safer in that way, that if you're not feeling right.
It's a medical procedure at the end of the day.
Yeah,
You have your medical professionals there. You are receiving this medication, yes, but you're being monitored. We haven't found necessarily long-term risks that are going to affect you. And this is over the years of research when it comes to the drug itself. Not so much just the use
Like
of
the
therapy.
combination,
Yeah.
No, there hasn't been any real long-term risk. I think that's why they use it in the ER so frequently. It's one of the first things that they do, especially when it comes to pain management.
Yeah.
So the risks aren't necessarily too much. Now, will you maybe experience a side effect? It depends on the person.
Can ketamine lead to substance abuse? Effects of disassociation and hallucinations make it popular among teens and young adults at dance clubs. The risk of misuse includes its use as a date rape drug due to its memory impairing properties. It's classified as a Schedule III non-narcotic drug under the Controlled Substance Act. Some people debate, they get into the whole drug war and addiction. Is there any risk of addiction, of hooking yourself for 6 weeks?
I'm glad you brought that up because like any drug that anyone takes, that
has risk of addiction.
Right.
Everything. Anything that we take, antidepressant, anything, has a risk of abusing it.
Right.
So we're assessing history. We're assessing, coping for me is a big thing. I need to understand, how do you cope now?
Okay.
Because if you have maladaptive coping, you're harming yourself, you're using substances to cope, to distract or just kind of wash yourself out of it. That's not gonna be good for me to give you ketamine and they expect you to go home and do the same thing. So I may even do some sessions before they do ketamine to kind of let them understand, listen, I need you to be in a certain place, readiness for it before we do this. Exactly. Most of them have had therapy before. Most people have had some form of treatment before and are at their wit's end and desperate for change.
This is the last resource.
Right.
Yeah.
It's all about behavior.
Yeah.
And it's all about how you cope. which is why it's such a big thing. Assessing the person's history is also a very big thing. If you have addictive behaviors, if you have family history of addiction, that may be something we may reconsider and try different pathways. But at the end of the day, like any medication, if you abuse of it, you will fall into addiction of it.
Is ketamine right for everyone? Ketamine is not considered suitable for everyone. Ketamine and esketamine are not used in children or teens, and ketamine and esketamine are classified as Schedule III drugs due to their potential for addiction and misuse. This should only be used under the supervision of a doctor and a controlled setting. The cost of ketamine treatments may not be covered by insurance, posing a potential barrier to access for some individuals.
Who is a good candidate and who is a bad candidate? Have you ever had anybody that you've had to say, no, we can't give you this so far?
When we say bad, I would say the conditions that have more of psychosis, root to it, schizophrenia, bipolar, depending on how bad the manic episode is not recommended. And only because they're already in, not so much the bipolar, but they're already in a delusional state for the most part. We don't want to put someone in another delusional state.
We don't want you to another realm.
We don't
want to trigger.
Go back to space, for a little bit. We don't want that. We don't want a negative
So certain
situation.
mental health disorders.
Right. So
that are severe.
schizophrenia, bipolar disorder 1 with mania, any kind of psychotic disorder, would anyone that falls into psychosis, they wouldn't be
qualify.
Proper candidates, and it would be mostly because we'd be putting them at risk, and that's not the point.
Maybe in the future, once the dosages are, because the dosages right now are based on body weight, but we need more studies, long-term studies, even though we do have them prior to the 80s. We need more for modern times.
It's clear that while ketamine can offer hope where other treatments may not have succeeded, it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. The journey with ketamine, as we've learned from Dr. Uribe and Ms. Bianchi, requires careful consideration, professional guidance, and a personalized approach. It's not just about the medication itself, but also about the therapeutic support that comes with it. For those considering ketamine therapy, it's crucial to understand the importance of being treated in a controlled setting. We also want to highlight the importance of continued research and education in this field. The more we understand, the better we can help those in need. Now, do you think the use of psychedelics will be the future for mental health? If you or someone you know is struggling with depression and considering ketamine therapy, we encourage you to consult with a healthcare professional to understand if this is the right path for you. Thank you for joining The Mindful Space. See you in the next episode, where we continue to explore groundbreaking treatments and stories in the mental health field. And remember to heal, grow, and stay mindful.